The Discovery. Commander Elena Vasquez stood at the observation deck of Helios Frontier Station, watching the endless void of space stretching before her. The massive orbital platform, stationed at the edge of the solar system, served as humanity's furthest permanent outpost, a watchtower looking into the abyss beyond. Another quiet shift, Lieutenant Marcus Chen said, sliding a cup of synthetic coffee across the console toward her. Elena accepted it with a nod. Quiet is good. Quiet means nothing's trying to kill us today. Helios had been operational for 15 years now, monitoring the threshold between charted space and the vast unknown that lay beyond the Kuiper Belt. Its primary function was early detection, to spot anything coming toward Earth from the depths of interstellar space. In a decade and a half, they cataloged comets, documented stellar phenomena, and tracked the occasional rogue asteroid. Nothing that couldn't be explained by natural cosmic processes, until today. The alert came without warning, a soft ping from the long-range sensors that escalated quickly into a blaring siren. Elena slammed her cup down, coffee splashing across the console as she moved toward the main detection array. "Report," she barked. The station's AI responded immediately, its voice calm and measured despite the urgency of the situation. Unknown vessel detected entering restricted space. Configuration matches no known signature in database. Marcus was already pulling up the scan results, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "It's big, Commander. About the size of a frigate. And it's moving. Wrong." "Wrong how?" "The propulsion signature doesn't make sense. It's like it's sliding between space rather than moving through it." Elena leaned closer to the display, studying the readings. "Origin point." "That's the thing," Marcus said, his voice dropping. "It seems to have appeared from nowhere. 1 second nothing. Then there it was." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. 15 years on the frontier had taught her one thing. Space might be vast, but it followed rules. Objects didn't just appear. They came from somewhere, following trajectories that could be calculated and predicted. "Full station alert," she ordered. "I want weapon systems online and all personnel at battle stations." As the alarm echoed through the corridors of Helios, Elena continued to study the approaching vessel. There was something familiar about its configuration, something that tugged at her memory. "Enhance visual," she commanded. The main screen flickered, zooming in on the distant ship. Its hull was sleek, almost organic in appearance, with strange protrusions that pulsed with energy unlike anything in humanity's technological arsenal. But beneath those alien additions, a familiar shape emerged, the distinctive profile of a human vessel. Elena's breath caught in her throat. "That's impossible." "Commander." Marcus looked up from his station. "Run a comparison with ISS Pathfinder." Marcus hesitated, confusion evident on his face. "The Pathfinder? But that ship disappeared 27 years ago." "Just do it." The computer worked quickly, overlaying the silhouette of the approaching vessel with the archived schematics of the Pathfinder. Despite the strange growths and modifications, the match was undeniable. 92% structural match, the AI confirmed. Hull identification markings partially visible. Vessel is confirmed as the interstellar survey ship Pathfinder. A heavy silence fell over the command center. The Pathfinder had been humanity's most ambitious deep space exploration vessel, sent to investigate what appeared to be an artificial signal from beyond the heliopause. The mission had gone dark after passing beyond communication range. After 5 years of silence, the ship and its crew of 12 had been declared lost. Yet here it was, transformed almost beyond recognition, returning from the depths of space like a ghost. "They're broadcasting," the communications officer announced, breaking the silence. "Audio only." Elena straightened her uniform. "Let's hear it." The message that filled the command center was distorted, layered with harmonics that no human voice should produce. Yet beneath the alien cadence, they could make out words, English words, spoken by what had once been a human. "Helios Station. This is Captain Richard Garrett of the ISS Pathfinder. We have returned with knowledge. We have returned with warning. They are coming." Elena exchanged glances with her officers. "Open a channel." When the connection established, she spoke clearly and firmly. "Captain Garrett, this is Commander Elena Vasquez of Helios Frontier Station. Your ship was declared lost 27 years ago. We require explanation of your status and the nature of your modifications." The response came after a long pause, the voice even more distorted than before. "Time flows differently where we have been, Commander. For us, it has been centuries. We have changed, evolved. There is no time to explain through conventional means. Request permission to dock. What we carry cannot be transmitted. It must be experienced." Elena's training screamed at her to deny the request. Protocol for unknown vessels was quarantine at a minimum safe distance until a full hazard assessment could be completed. But this wasn't just any ship. It was the Pathfinder, a vessel built by human hands, crewed by Earth's own. Or at least, it had been. "Negative. Pathfinder, maintain your position. We'll send a shuttle to you." Another pause, longer this time. "Acceptable. But choose your representatives carefully, Commander. What awaits will transform them." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in uneasy silence. "You're not seriously considering going over there?" Marcus asked, his voice low. Elena turned to face her officers. "Whatever that ship has become, it was once ours. And if there's even a chance Captain Garrett is telling the truth, that something is coming, we have a duty to investigate." 2 hours later, Elena stood in the shuttle bay, watching as the final preparations were made for the boarding party. She had selected her team carefully. Dr. Eliza Kwan, the station's chief xenobiologist, Security Chief Darius Wallace, and herself. If the Pathfinder truly had encountered alien life or technology, they needed scientific expertise. If it presented a threat, they needed Wallace's tactical assessment. "Final equipment check," Wallace announced, his imposing frame moving methodically through the pre-mission protocol. He distributed the standard exploration packs: environmental suits with 6 hours of independent life support, multi-spectrum scanners, emergency beacons, and sidearms. "Remember," Elena said as they prepared to board the shuttle, "we observe first. We document. We do not touch anything without clearance." The journey to the Pathfinder took only 20 minutes, but they were the longest 20 minutes of Elena's career. As they approached, the true extent of the ship's transformation became apparent. What had once been a sleek exploration vessel was now something else entirely, a hybrid of human engineering and otherworldly technology. The hull pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, almost as if the ship itself were breathing. "My God," Dr. Kwan whispered, her scientific detachment momentarily forgotten. "It's as if the ship has become alive." Wallace remained stoic, but his hand never strayed far from his weapon. "I don't like this, Commander. Everything about this screams trap." Elena shared his concern, but she kept her focus on the mission. "Stay alert. We go in, we find out what happened, we leave. Simple as that." The Pathfinder's main airlock opened as they approached, extending what appeared to be a biological umbilical rather than the standard docking mechanism. After verifying that the atmosphere within was breathable, if strange in composition, they made the decision to proceed. The interior of the ship defied all expectations. What had once been sterile corridors of metal and composite materials had transformed into organic tunnels, lined with a material that resembled both technology and living tissue. The walls pulsed with the same bioluminescent light they had observed from outside, creating an eerie, shifting illumination. "These patterns," Dr. Kwan said, studying her scanner, "they're not random. There's a structure here, almost like a language." Elena ran her gloved hand along the wall, feeling warmth and a subtle vibration beneath her fingers. "It's responding to us, to our presence." They moved deeper into the ship, following what they believed to be the path to the bridge. The layout was still recognizably that of the Pathfinder, but twisted, grown over, evolved into something new. Life signs, Wallace reported suddenly, checking his scanner. Just ahead. Single humanoid signature, but the readings are off. They found Captain Richard Garrett in what had once been the ship's command center. The space had transformed into something resembling a chamber of a massive organism, with the captain suspended at its center, partially merged with the ship itself. Tendrils of the same biomechanical material that lined the walls extended into his body at various points, pulsing with energy. His eyes opened as they entered, focusing on the boarding party with unsettling clarity. Despite being physically connected to the ship, he appeared calm, even peaceful. "Commander Vasquez," he said, his voice more normal now than it had been over the communication channel. "Thank you for coming. I apologize for my condition. The integration was necessary for survival." Elena stepped forward, maintaining a cautious distance. "Captain Garrett, what happened to you? To your ship? Your crew?" Garrett's expression shifted, a complex mix of emotions crossing his face. "We found what we were looking for, Commander. The signal. It led us to something ancient. Something that had been waiting." "Waiting for what?" Elena asked. "For someone to find it. For someone to carry it back." His gaze drifted to the strange growths around them. "This technology, it's beyond anything humanity has imagined. It doesn't just interface with machines. It merges with organic life. Creates something new." "Where is the rest of your crew?" Wallace demanded. Garrett's expression darkened. "Gone, or rather, transformed beyond what you would recognize as human. They became part of the ship's diaspora, spread across the cosmos to gather more knowledge, to watch for them." "Them?" Dr. Kwan asked. "The Harvesters," Garrett said, the name sending a visible ripple through the organic material around them. "They destroy civilizations that reach a certain technological threshold. They've been doing it for millions of years, and humanity has just crossed that threshold." Elena felt her mouth go dry. "You're saying Earth is in danger?" "Not just Earth. All of humanity. The colonies. Everything we've built." Garrett's eyes locked with hers, suddenly intense. "That's why we came back. To warn you. To prepare you." "How?" Elena asked. "If these Harvesters are as advanced as you say, what chance does humanity have?" For the first time, Garrett smiled. "Because I brought something back with me, something they don't know I have." The tendrils connecting him to the ship pulsed brighter. "Knowledge. Technology. A weapon." He extended his hand toward them, palm up. In the center lay what appeared to be a small crystal, glowing with internal light. "This contains everything you need to know. Everything humanity needs to survive what's coming." His voice grew urgent. "Take it. There isn't much time. Their scouts are already approaching the outer system." Elena hesitated, protocol warring with necessity. "How do we know this isn't some kind of trap? That you haven't been compromised?" "You don't," Garrett admitted. "But ask yourself this. If I wanted to destroy humanity, why warn you at all? Why not simply wait until the Harvesters arrived and humanity was defenseless?" It was Wallace who stepped forward, surprising everyone. The security chief reached out and took the crystal from Garrett's hand. "Sometimes survival requires risk, Commander." As Wallace's fingers closed around the crystal, it pulsed once, brightly, and the security chief gasped, staggering back. "What happened?" Elena demanded, moving to support him. Wallace looked up, his eyes wide with shock, and something else, a newfound understanding. "I saw them," he whispered. "I saw what's coming." Dr. Kwan's scanner beeped urgently. "Commander, something's happening to the ship. Energy levels are spiking across all systems." Garrett's expression turned mournful. "You need to go. Now. The Pathfinder has served its purpose. It brought the warning, the knowledge. Now it must complete its final mission." "What mission?" Elena asked, even as she began moving her team toward the exit. "To delay them, Garrett said simply, "to buy humanity time to prepare." As they raced back through the organic corridors, the entire ship trembled around them. They barely made it to their shuttle before the Pathfinder began to move, accelerating away from Helios Station with impossible speed. Within minutes, it had vanished into the darkness beyond the solar system's edge, leaving them with only the crystal and the terrible knowledge of what was to come. Back aboard Helios, Wallace sat in the medical bay, the crystal now secured in a containment field as Dr. Kwan ran every analysis she could think of on both it and the security chief. "What did you see?" Elena asked him quietly. Wallace looked up, his eyes haunted. "Everything, Commander. I saw what they did to other worlds. I saw how they hunt. And I saw how we can fight back." He rubbed his temples. "The crystal. It's not just data. It's a key to understanding technology we've never dreamed of." Elena stared at the innocuous-looking crystal. "And you believe it? You believe Garrett?" "I do," Wallace said without hesitation. "And once you interface with that crystal, you will too." He leaned forward. "Commander, we need to get this to Earth. Now, before it's too late." Elena nodded slowly, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. "Prepare a secure transmission to Earth Command. Priority Alpha. Tell them the void has answered back, and it's not empty anymore." As the message was sent, Elena returned to the observation deck, staring out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the transformed Pathfinder was heading toward an enemy they couldn't yet comprehend. Somewhere out there, creatures that had ended countless civilizations were turning their attention to humanity. But for the first time since the Pathfinder had appeared on their sensors, Elena felt something besides fear. Hope. Because if Captain Garrett was right, if the technology he brought back could be understood and implemented, humanity might just have a fighting chance. The void had thrown down a challenge, and humanity had never been known to back down from a fight. The revelation. Earth Defense Command Headquarters buzzed with tense energy. The massive underground complex beneath the Rocky Mountains had been on full alert for the past 72 hours, ever since the transmission from Helios Frontier Station arrived. The once dismissive military brass now moved with urgent purpose, their previous skepticism shattered by the data streaming in from the edge of the solar system. Admiral Jackson Ramirez, head of Earth's Unified Defense Forces, studied the holographic projection dominating the command center. It displayed the crystal recovered from the Pathfinder, now held in a specialized containment facility 3 levels below. "And you're certain this intel is reliable?" he asked, not for the first time. Elena Vasquez, now temporarily stationed at EDC headquarters, nodded firmly. "As certain as we can be, Admiral." Security Chief Wallace was transformed by direct contact with the crystal. The technical knowledge he gained, knowledge he couldn't possibly have had before, proved something extraordinary happened. Wallace himself stood nearby, changed in subtle but undeniable ways since his encounter with the Pathfinder's gift. His eyes held a distant focus, as if constantly perceiving something beyond normal human senses. The medical team had documented neurological changes. Increased synaptic connections, heightened processing speeds, brain activity patterns never before recorded in a human subject. It wasn't just information transfer, Dr. Kwan added from her position at the analysis station. The crystal physically rewired portions of his brain to accommodate the new knowledge. It's like an upload of centuries of scientific advancement. Admiral Ramirez frowned. "And we're supposed to just trust this technology. For all we know, it could be altering his mind for hostile purposes." Wallace's voice was steady when he responded. "I understand your concern, Admiral. But every moment we waste debating is a moment we're not preparing. The Harvester's scout vessels will reach Neptune's orbit in less than 2 weeks." He stepped forward, placing his palm on the edge of the holotable. The display immediately shifted, showing technical schematics of defensive systems beyond anything humanity had developed. Weapons platforms that utilized principles of physics that Earth scientists were only beginning to theorize about. "I can build these," Wallace said simply. "With the right resources, we can have the first line of defense operational before they arrive." Ramirez studied the designs with narrowed eyes. "Even if I believed every word, which I'm not saying I do, implementing untested alien technology on this scale would require resources we don't have and coordination between nations that have been at each other's throats for decades." Elena met the Admiral's gaze. "Then perhaps this is the crisis that finally unites us." 3 days later, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from every nation watched in stunned silence as Wallace presented the evidence, both the warning from the Pathfinder and the technological solutions the crystal had provided. "The harvesters don't just destroy civilizations," he explained, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "They harvest them. Their technology, their knowledge, their very essence. They've been doing this for millions of years, growing stronger with each civilization they consume." "Why target us now?" asked the representative from the African Union. "We've barely taken our first steps into space." "Because we've reached what they call the threshold," Wallace replied. "We've mastered faster-than-light communication. We're on the verge of developing true FTL travel." In their experience, once a species crosses that line, they expand rapidly and become much harder to contain. They prefer to eliminate threats early. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. "And you believe this gift from Captain Garrett will allow us to defend ourselves?" the European representative asked. Wallace nodded. "The technology the Pathfinder encountered doesn't just advance our capabilities. It fundamentally changes what's possible. The crystal contains designs for defensive systems, yes, but also for something more important, a way to interface human consciousness directly with our technology, to create perfect synchronization between operator and machine." "You're talking about cyborg soldiers," the Chinese representative said flatly. "I'm talking about evolution," Wallace corrected. "Controlled, directed evolution. The same transformation that happened to Captain Garrett and his crew, but refined, perfected." The debate raged for hours, but in the end, faced with extinction, even the most hesitant nations agreed. Operation Firewall was initiated, a global mobilization of resources and personnel dedicated to implementing the defensive technologies provided by the crystal. Production facilities around the world shifted to new priorities. Space elevators in Ecuador, Kenya, and Malaysia worked around the clock, moving materials to orbital construction platforms. The lunar colonies, previously focused on scientific research and limited mining operations, became massive manufacturing centers. And through it all, Wallace worked tirelessly, his enhanced mind directing teams of engineers and scientists, guiding them through concepts that would have taken decades to discover independently. The first volunteers for the integration process arrived 4 days later, elite pilots from various nations' space forces, scientists who understood the risks but recognized the necessity, soldiers who had sworn to defend humanity by any means necessary. Elena watched the first integration ceremony from behind glass, her stomach tight with both hope and dread. The volunteers lay in specialized chambers, surrounded by a web of the same biomechanical material they had seen aboard the Pathfinder. "Will they remain themselves?" she asked Dr. Kwan softly. The xenobiologist's expression was solemn. According to Wallace, yes. This isn't possession or replacement, it's enhancement. Their consciousness remains intact, but expanded. She paused. "At least, that's the theory." The process began with a soft hum. The biomechanical tendrils extended slowly, making contact with the volunteer's skin. There was no pain. The subjects had been clear on that point, only a strange sensation of expansion, as if their minds were suddenly able to perceive dimensions previously invisible. Elena watched as one pilot, Major Sophia Chen, opened her eyes midway through the process. They glowed faintly with the same inner light they had seen in Captain Garrett's, but when she spoke, her voice was still her own. "I can see it," she whispered, wonder evident in her tone. "I can see everything." The first test of the new defensive systems came sooner than expected. 8 days after the Pathfinder's warning, long-range sensors detected unusual disturbances near Saturn. 3 objects, moving at speeds that defied conventional physics, had entered the solar system. Scout ships, just as Garrett had warned. Humanity's newly constructed defense platform, Aegis I, orbiting between Mars and Jupiter, prepared for first contact. Major Chen and 5 other integrated pilots took their positions in neural interface chambers rather than traditional control stations. Through their enhanced perception, they became the defense platform, their thoughts translating instantly to action. Contact in 30 seconds, Chen reported, her voice eerily calm. Initiating Defense Protocol Avalanche. Admiral Ramirez, watching from Earth Command, leaned forward. Major, are you certain these are hostile forces? Confirmed, Admiral. Their energy signatures match exactly what the crystal showed us. These are Harvester Scouts. The Harvester vessels came into visual range, sleek, angular ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. They moved with unnatural precision, as if space itself bent to accommodate their passage. They're scanning us, another integrated pilot reported. Attempting to breach our systems. Chen's expression remained serene. Shields holding. They're surprised. They didn't expect resistance at this level. The first attack came without warning, beams of concentrated energy that would have vaporized conventional spacecraft. The Aegis platform absorbed the impact, its advanced shields redistributing the energy. Returning fire, Chen announced. The weapons that responded were unlike anything humanity had possessed weeks earlier. Coherent streams of particles that existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously struck the lead harvester vessel, bypassing its defenses by exploiting fundamental laws of physics that human science was only beginning to comprehend. The scout ship shuddered, its hull rippling as if reality itself was being rewritten around it. Then, silently, it fractured, not exploding outward but imploding, collapsing into itself until nothing remained. The remaining scouts immediately altered course, accelerating away from the solar system. They're retreating, Chen reported. No, they're sending a signal. Quantum-entangled communication. They're alerting the main fleet. In the command center, a cheer went up. Humanity had won its first engagement against an advanced alien threat. But Elena saw Wallace's expression darken. This isn't victory, he said quietly. It's just the beginning. They'll be back, and in greater numbers. The following weeks transformed Earth and its colonies like nothing in human history. As news of the encounter spread, the last vestiges of resistance to the integration program fell away. More volunteers came forward, not just military personnel now, but civilians, engineers, doctors, artists, teachers, people willing to transform themselves to defend their species. Each integration refined the process. Each new enhanced human brought unique perspectives and talents to the collective knowledge. They remained individuals, but connected, able to share insights and experiences instantaneously across vast distances. Wallace had been right. It wasn't just about defensive technology, it was evolution. Directed, purposeful evolution. 3 months after the Pathfinder's return, Elena stood in the observation lounge of the new command carrier Prometheus, watching Earth recede in the distance. The ship, the first of its kind, built with the advanced technology from the crystal, was embarking on its maiden voyage, a proactive mission to establish defensive outposts beyond the solar system. Having second thoughts, Commander. Elena turned to find Wallace beside her. He looked different now, his integration more advanced than most, with subtle filaments visible beneath his skin when he moved, glowing with soft blue light. Not second thoughts, she replied, just reflecting. 3 months ago, I was running a monitoring station. Now I'm XO on a ship that can bend spacetime. Wallace nodded. It's been a rapid transformation, perhaps too rapid for some. That was an understatement. Not everyone had embraced the changes. Some religious groups claimed the integration was an abomination. Political factions worried about the implications of enhanced humans gaining too much influence. But faced with extinction, pragmatism had prevailed. "Do you think we have a chance?" Elena asked quietly. "Really? Against the harvesters?" Wallace considered. "They've spent millions of years consuming civilizations, growing stronger with each one, but they've never encountered anything like us before. What makes us different? Adaptability, creativity. The very traits that made them mark us for harvest are the traits that might save us." Wallace turned his gaze to the stars ahead. "The Pathfinder showed us that humanity could merge with advanced technology without losing what makes us human. That's our advantage." The ship's intercom chimed softly. "Commander Vasquez, Commander Wallace, we're approaching the jump point." Elena took a deep breath. They were about to attempt humanity's first faster-than-light journey, not through conventional means, but through a controlled folding of space-time itself. "Shall we make history?" Wallace asked, a hint of his old self showing through the enhanced exterior. As they made their way to the bridge, Elena thought about Captain Garrett and the transformed Pathfinder. What had they experienced in the depths of space? What had they sacrificed to bring this warning, this gift to humanity? The bridge of the Prometheus bore little resemblance to traditional spacecraft command centers. The integrated crew members sat in neural interface pods arranged in a circle, their consciousness partially merged with the ship's systems. At the center stood Captain Amara Singh, the most extensively integrated human to date, her body hosting enough biomechanical enhancements that she could directly interface with the ship without a pod. "Status report," Elena requested, taking her position. "All systems optimal," Captain Singh replied. "Jump calculations complete. The fold will initiate in 30 seconds. Elena felt a moment of vertigo as the ship's consciousness brushed against her own, a side effect of being in proximity to so many integrated humans and systems. It wasn't unpleasant, just different, like standing at the edge of a vast ocean and feeling the first lapping waves against your feet. "First target is Alpha Centauri," Wallace explained. "We'll establish a defensive outpost there, then proceed to Sirius, Ta Ceti, and beyond, creating a network that will detect and intercept the harvester fleet before it reaches our system." The countdown reached 0. The space around the Prometheus shimmered, reality itself seeming to bend and flex. Elena felt a strange sensation, as if her entire body was both stretching and compressing simultaneously. Then, in an instant, the familiar stars of Earth's sky were replaced by new configurations. The journey, which would have taken years using conventional propulsion, had happened in moments. "Jump successful," Captain Singh announced. "Welcome to Alpha Centauri, everyone." As the crew began preparations for establishing the outpost, Elena returned to the observation deck. The foreign stars shone brilliantly, untouched by human eyes until now. Among them, she knew, lurked dangers that had threatened humanity's existence, but also possibilities, endless possibilities for what humanity might become. She thought back to the message that had started it all. "We have returned with knowledge. We have returned with warning. They are coming." The Pathfinder had fulfilled its mission. It had changed the course of human history, perhaps saved their species from extinction. But more than that, it had set humanity on a new evolutionary path, one that might eventually take them beyond even the harvester's reach. A gentle alert from her communicator interrupted her thoughts. A transmission was coming in, from deep space, well beyond their current position. The signal pattern was instantly recognizable. The Pathfinder. As Wallace joined her, they listened to Captain Garrett's distant voice, transformed further since their last encounter, but still recognizable. "Prometheus, we see you have begun the journey. Good. The harvesters are moving faster than predicted. Their main fleet has altered course, sensing the threat you now pose. But you are not alone in this fight. We have found others, survivors, refugees from worlds the harvesters destroyed. Together, we can stand against them." There was a pause then. "When you're ready, follow our signal." The stars await, and humanity's next chapter begins. The transmission ended, leaving Elena and Wallace standing in contemplative silence. "What do you think he meant by others?" Elena finally asked. Wallace's enhanced eyes gleamed as he studied the star chart. "It means we're not alone. It means there's a broader community of sentient life out there, or at least what remains of it after the Harvester's purges. Allies? Potentially, or at least fellow survivors." Wallace turned to her. "It means humanity's future isn't just about defense or survival. It's about taking our place in something larger." Elena nodded slowly, understanding dawning. The Pathfinder hadn't just brought them the means to survive an immediate threat. It had given humanity a gateway to a bigger universe, one filled with both dangers and wonders they had yet to imagine. As the Prometheus continued its mission, establishing the first human outpost in another star system, Elena realized that the true journey was just beginning. The Harvesters were coming, yes, but humanity would meet them as something new, something evolving, something with allies among the stars. The void had challenged them, and humanity's answer was transformation. Soon, the defensive network would be complete. Soon, the enhanced vanguard of humanity would stand ready, and when the Harvesters arrived, expecting to find an easy conquest, they would instead encounter a species that refused to be harvested, a species that had taken its evolutionary destiny into its own hands. Captain Garrett and the Pathfinder has shown them the way. Now it was up to humanity to forge the path forward. As Elena watched the alien sun rise over the newly established outpost, she smiled. For the first time since the Pathfinder's return, she felt certain of one thing: humanity's story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning its most exciting chapter. The stars were no longer distant lights to be admired from afar. They were waypoints on humanity's new journey. And whatever waited out there, be it harvesters or allies or wonders beyond imagination, humanity would face it together, transformed but unbroken, carrying the best of what they had been into what they were becoming. The echo from the void had been answered, and humanity's response would reverberate across the galaxy for eons to come.